Well, it's nice to talk to you guys. So let's see, where do we begin? I just got the official press release for the slate and everything. It looks fabulous. Okay, let's start from the basics. This is the Camden International Film Festival, and the dates are September 12th through the 15th, right? It's the 15th year, which is amazing.
Ben's life.
Almost. I'm getting up there. But yeah, it is our 15th anniversary. The dates are September 12th through the 15th. We keep inching a little bit closer into September, but we're determined to...
Are you getting nervous?
We're ready to go and excited for what has become, I think, a really impressive slate of films that Samara and I are super excited about sharing. Great group of filmmakers coming in, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later on, but you know, the festival and the curated features and shorts we're bringing in are just, you know, a big part, but a part of a much larger gathering of filmmakers and artists during the festival.
Yeah, I'm going to go this year for the first time. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. You know, Ben, I've been wanting to come for years, and it's just never happened, and finally everything sort of lined up. So I'm very excited, and it looks like a really great lineup. But I have a sense that it's like one of these... It's like summer camp for documentary film lovers or something.
We'll go by that. We also still, we're still promoting Lobsters. You know, whatever it takes to get people to drive 8 hours up from New York or hop on a plane. You know, it's funny because, you know, you're saying it's your first trip up, and the great thing about this festival is that there's still so many people we're meeting, and obviously filmmakers coming in every year, but there's still a sense of, you know, for Samara and Sean and I, just the opportunity to connect with new folks in the industry is exciting. So, yeah, we're looking forward to hanging out with you in 4 weeks, Adam.
Oh, thank you. I have to assume there's a group of people that have gotten addicted to the Camden International Film Festival, and they try to come every year, and there's like, it's like a reunion every year.
Yeah.
Also?
I mean, I think what you were saying about summer camp applies like to an extent, and just in the sense that it's one of the rare festivals that happens outside of kind of the grooves of like everyday urban life, and there's something that really like important that happens when people kind of break outside of their everyday and are interacting with people that they know from the circuits and that they've encountered before, but they're encountering them in completely different terms. I think there is like a total magic. When I first came here like 6 or 7 years ago, you really do notice that people are at their best selves or are kind of shining in a different way when they're here. And for the people whose everyday life is Maine, the film festival is also a way of getting out of their everyday grooves, because they're like encountering these new worlds, and the town is like flooded with all these new people with all this kind of new energy, and so it's just kind of disrupting kind of just the patterns of our lives and there's something really wonderful, like everyone's just alert and paying attention and like really receptive to what the connections they're making or the films that they're seeing. Like it's just very energized.
I find, you know, more and more that I'm drawn to festivals where, you know, the community is really, really excited and involved, and they're volunteering, and it's like, I think we were saying before, where it's not quite it's not a market festival, it's not a big festival, it's not a big industry festival necessarily, but also because of what you're creating is special, and that's exactly where filmmakers want to show their films.
Thank you. I mean, I think what we're noticing as well since the Institute's been founded is that Elixir like applies not only once a film is finished in Q&As and like in just celebrating the craft of the filmmakers, but also there are more and more of kind of, even though it's not a market-driven festival, we do have like a surprising number of really high-level industry that do attend and who pick up projects here. And like, because we have a growing number of artist programs every year, we have all these cohorts of filmmakers that have films in various stages of development that are looking for collaborators or funders or like even just like, you know, producers or key creatives, and just there is something kind of magnetic that happens. You know, there just a lot of projects get picked up off of our pitches and one-on-one meetings and in our artist programs. A lot of people meet their future collaborators on future projects here. There's just like a way that people connect. It's like kind of like all the barriers that are usually present are somehow stripped away, and people can really see kind of value in each other, and we're really, really proud of how well our artist programs are doing. One of the main events, like the event that packs the Camden Opera House every Saturday, like of the festival, is the pitch, which is like free and open to the public, and everyone, all the people, the festival guests and all the locals watch, like, as these 6 projects. Often, most of them, actually all of them this year, are essentially unknown, like have received very little support from the industry so far, as they pitch their projects to our panel of guests, industry guests, and like many of them have great success. Like, we have 2 projects playing this year that pitched.
That was my next question.
Yeah. So the 2 Midnight films, it's very easy to remember, Midnight Family and Midnight Traveler, both pitched with us 3 years and 2 years ago, respectively. Yeah.
But they didn't pitch the same year, right? It was different years.
Different years, yeah. I think it was maybe a year between them. It's kind of the Midnight Special, and it's actually been a lot of festivals together, which they both premiered at Sundance, which is just incredible.
Well,
it's been nice. Getting back to your note about taking place in a small town or taking place in a community, I think it's fascinating to look back at 15 years and realize that Full Frame, True Falls, and a number of other organizations have been around and are celebrating this kind of, just being in the game for a while, and they all take place in communities outside of major, at least urban media markets. It's been, I think, refreshing in a lot of ways to remember that and realize that how much of the interest in the forum has really been about building audiences across the country, across the world, but kind of growing at it in a more grassroots approach. So to be part of, I think, a larger wave of organizations that were coming up and kind of cutting their teeth and supporting incredible filmmakers, it's been wonderful to look back and see, that was Samara saying, the opportunities we have now to actually do a little bit more with the projects when they're in the earlier stages.
Well, every filmmaker has to grapple with the commercial aspects of the film they're making as well as the artistic, and I think the audiences that are going to go to the Camden film festivals of the, in the circuit, they're probably going to respond from the artistic end of it, is my guess. So it's kind of important to have both experiences. And I know it sounds like you've created a tremendous networking opportunity for the people that, the filmmakers and the teams and the folks that come to the festival. But also there's more, maybe this is a broad generalization, but perhaps at the more industry-oriented festivals, they're getting the more commercial emphasis. I don't know. But it just seems to me like you've created this great opportunity in a really nice environment where people can loosen up and be not defensive or be more vulnerable, I guess, with their film work and their, I don't know. I have to go. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Part of that may be the time of the year, like there is this kind of big break in the cycle, as we all know, in the summer, certainly July, August, when everyone's trying to take some time off. Those happen to be our busiest months, so we got to figure that one out long term. But the idea of coming back together in the fall, I think certainly has helped us carve out somewhat of a balance. I think between ideally skewing towards being a discovery festival, but also being able to pull in some larger titles. But even the idea of the forum that is now celebrating 11 or 12 years, I'm not sure, started out as kind of a very straightforward kind of 101 for regional filmmakers. And you look back at what's been able to be accomplished now. One of the most exciting things I think about what we do is all of the integration in our artist programs, the forum work we do, and our film programming. There's cohesive threads, conversations, conversation starters that we're trying to incorporate now. That is, feels from a curating or programming standpoint, a richer experience for us. Certainly, Samara's been a huge part of that, bringing that to the organization. But it's also just the build out of what we're doing outside of the festival that has allowed those conversations to start happening.
I think it's also like this dichotomy of commercial versus creative, or like form versus story or content, is something that I just have like a radical like disbelief in it. Like I think what we were trying to forge is like an environment where you can have a commercially viable film and have a creative voice, and like so much of what we're trying to foster is our works that are being successful at both, and not kind of encouraging that like false divide. And I think like, so, you know, our artist programs are these like residencies that go on for the week leading up to the festival, and then kind of slowly incorporate into the festival. And we do a lot of pitch training and kind of preparing people to encounter industry and talk about their films and how to kind of best kind of optimize their possibilities for finding collaborators. But most of the focus is on like, how do you develop your voice? Like so few kind of industry offerings these days are actually about buttressing kind of the creative potential of young and diverse and also like veteran creators, and just allowing them to kind of develop their vocabularies and kind of their approaches to form, and to really kind of go deep into the processes that make their work so deeply like effective and vital and like meaningful and just like beautiful. and that doesn't mean that they're not going to be commercially viable either. Like, we really want to believe that everyone that attends the festivals appreciates both. You know,
you were mentioning there's a week prior to the festival where there's a number of filmmakers that come up, and you have a residency.
We have a couple. So we okay. At this point this year we have 4 different houses. Like, if you picture kind of 4 sprawling kind of main Victorian houses, populated each with different cohorts of filmmakers that are all kind of workshopping different stages of their projects. We've got a short form editing residency. We've got the North Star Fellowship, which is for 5 young filmmakers of color. We have the Fourth World Fellows, which are coming up. They're all Indigenous filmmakers from around North America that are coming up for the first time this year. And then we have the Fellows, who are the ones who are really preparing for the pitch on Saturday. And they're all in these like very intensive workshopping environments with a series of mentors circulating through, and then like intermittent hikes and like beach walks. Sure. And they become each other's allies. Like, they have this space to really like go deep into their personal relationships to their films, which I think is something that's really important to articulate often.
Yeah.
It's just been so transformative. We do a retreat as well in June, which is also really formidable with TFI and CNN. But we're really kind of honing in on this ability we have to offer space and beauty, like just natural beauty, and also just like really great mentors to people who are really receptive.
And then the idea that they all kind of work towards the festival and being able to plug into the system that we were building out there. So the industry that are coming in have more opportunities to meet with projects through those programs, or our one-on-one program that we've been kind of developing over the past few years. And this stuff's all like, it's all there, but it doesn't feel as, there's structure for sure, but not as structured as an organization going out to really create a market. It was just kind of built around this idea of getting the right people in the right place at the right time to talk about the right things, or not, or just, but going at it in that sense. And it's worked out really well for us. So we're excited about this group, because what's great is we have no idea what happens. We just know we can create a space for things to happen and be part of the process along with everybody else. And so, festivals, they're supposed to be a bit unpredictable, right? So you have to create a space for that to happen. And, I think we continue to do that, and I think we continue to do that in different ways, which is always fun.
Wow. So if you're listening and you're a documentary filmmaker, or you're planning to become one, you can go to pointsnorthinstitute.org and find out more details about what your
Thanks for that plug.
Programs are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or just call Ben or Samara and they'll walk you through it. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the lineup. I'm sure people are eager to hear about this, the 15th edition. I'm sorry, my friend is howling. The Camden celebrates its 15th edition with an international showcase of films that interrogate story and power. I noticed another Alex Gibney documentary. Really? How's that possible?
Yeah, and this one's incredible.
No.
We're very excited about Citizen K, and very excited about getting Alex up here for the conversation afterwards for sure. So, but we're eager to jump in. So let's go. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk. Well, let's talk about some of the highlights. I mean, you guys.
I love. What is your dog's name, Adam?
Bella, but she's not gonna be able to hear you. I've got the if you're gonna start yelling her name, which is something I would do, but I've got my earbuds on and I'm listening to you guys. She's calmed down. She's a little spaniel. She's very cute. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. It's kind of arbitrary. I'll just start because I'm just looking at the list here, but I know I'm excited because I'm going to get to see, although it's going to be, I'm sure, intense, but I'll get to see After Parkland, which I keep missing. And American Factory I did see, and I loved. I saw that, and it's been, obviously, if you go to any festivals and you haven't seen it, it's, I don't know how that could happen. It's been at so many festivals, American Factory. But it seems like it's winding down with your festival. Yours could be the final festival, in fact, before it goes on Netflix.
Well, and
right?
we're doing a master class with the Incredible Two, Steve and Julia.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, we're really excited. Obviously, I think that they are two directors that we've been watching every year. Or every time they have a film out, just not being able to connect with the screening. So this is a real kind of honor for us to get.
Oh,
here.
great!
It's such an incredible film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I may use it to segue into kind of just the wider considerations that we've been kind of had on our mind as we've been programming all year. Like I remember I saw them pitch this film maybe 3 years ago in Amsterdam. And I remember some of the feedback they got at the time. They had this great story. They were deeply embedded with the workers in Ohio. And one of the people on the jury was like, "This seems like a caricature of China. Like this is a great film, and you've got great access to the Americans, but the story is very flat. Like the Chinese characters have no depth." And you can tell that they really took that criticism to heart. And this film became like a much more complex film. And there's this really interesting like duality in the way that they represent like we feel this great kind of empathy for the American workers, but we also understand kind of the kind of relocalization that has happened from the Chinese and kind of just this transfer of values that is kind of necessary as they try to work together towards common goals. And I think that binary, being able to kind of bridge these two realities in a way that is really generous towards both is something that they accomplished beautifully in this film. And we've been thinking a lot about just kind of who is this film for, like what story is it telling, and what kind of assumptions is it opening up, or is it kind of just solidifying or kind of buttressing old existing assumptions. And so all of our films this year are trying to kind of do a little bit of what Steve and Julia did, which is just like breathe in new questions, like breathe in kind of a new understanding, like not just support the perceptions we have as we go into the cinema, but like create something that transforms us, within the process of watching a film. And so I think Ben used that word early on when we started programming. And we were kind of talking to the screening committee, who we have these amazing 35 volunteers that watch films.
35?
Alongside us. Yeah, 35 all living all over the world.
They are spread out. Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are. They're all over the world, and they watch, on average, 45 hours of films. Some of them watch 75. One of them watched over 100 hours. They... Wait,
100 hours or 100 films?
100 hours.
Either is impressive. Okay.
Usually more than 100 films, because we've got a lot of shorts.
Of course, right. And wait, can I just say something? That you mentioned that your screeners are all from around the world, but so are the submissions.
Oh, like crazy. I think like when you were talking about, has this been an intense year? I think that there's definitely been like a big spike in submissions coming from really diverse places, like really far all around the world. I feel like most countries on the map are represented in our submission pool this year. And we really try to kind of honor that also as programmers, like understanding that like there's just different ways of telling stories and representing realities that might feel, you know, unusual to us, and trying to find kind of people in the screening committee that, you know, just understand kind of new ways of narrating reality and kind of representing through images and film like realities from all around the world. So the festival has, I think, half of the films, I don't even know, that we just locked this morning, are from outside of North America. And there really are like so many different approaches to cinema, basically, in this program. Thank you. Yeah. It's been really important to kind of continue to be curious, you know, about, especially just there's so many new platforms for making cinema. You know, we've been talking for a long time in North America about how documentary is kind of becoming more and more accessible and democratic. But now we're seeing like amazing filmmaking coming out of Africa and Southeast Asia and India and all over South America, like really phenomenal cinema. And so we've been really curious. And also within North America from like the indigenous communities and just like really interesting new voices.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously we're living in crazy times, so it's I guess a great opportunity to start to look at how we, you know, different ways of telling stories, because we're kind of looking through things in a very different prism in general. But the access to the equipment, to storytelling, to you know, just watching things now is so ubiquitous, right? I mean, people most of the world over have access to documentaries at a level now to watching them and viewing them that they never had before. Even if you just have YouTube, you can watch endless documentaries of all types just over your phone. So it's a very different world. So it's it's not really surprising that we're seeing this, you know, evolution of storytelling. But it's I mean, if so, you're saying this is what you're currently showcasing on this current slate. Because I'm looking at it, and there's these films are from all over the place. It's really great.
All over the place. I mean, if we'd had more slots, we would like. There was incredible caliber of submissions this year. But yeah, it's from all over the place, and then our artist programs as well. We have a lot of international filmmakers coming in for our artist programs. So yeah, it's quite impressive. I don't know if we should talk about are there any ones in particular we wanted to kind of talk about? We also have, for last year we had 3 world premieres, and this year we have 7.
7 world premieres.
Feels like a shift in the way SIFF is being kind of perceived just by kind of industry stakeholders and filmmakers as like a great platform. Like it's seen as a vessel for like really author-driven cinematic documentary, and people want to kind of launch their films here, or a lot of European filmmakers this is the kind of North American entry point.
Yeah, I think that there's certainly feels like a big kind of shift over the past few years of us finding out that that's a great way to kind of connect with a larger programming community. So there's a lot of festivals out there that we kind of lean on and you know, in many ways have, I think, a shared vision of the work that we're trying to.
What's a couple of examples of that?
I'd say a big example would be Visions in Switzerland, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of, you know, it happens in April, and I've never been. Samara's, I think, been there with the film and as a programmer, so she's worn both hats. She can probably give you a better assessment. But their work just kind of really, I think the tone and the pacing of the work that we see that coming out of that festival aligns with ours in many ways, our interests. And yeah, I don't know, Samara, you want to talk a little bit about Visions?
I mean, I think both Visions and Locarno, both Swiss festivals, are very prominently featured in our program. As is Berlin this year. All of them have undergone pretty significant shifts in their programming teams in the last few years.
From Cinema Durée.
And even Sheffield. Yeah, Cinema Durée. Like, we've got just these kind of first-time filmmakers with just these unforgettable lenses. Like, the way they see the world is something that just completely shook us, and all in different ways. And they just, it's like these pockets of like just deep texture that you just kind of can enter into these worlds.
Right.
I don't know how to describe, like, I'm just, my mind is flashing with all of these images, but they're really these rich experiences, and we're watching most of these films, unless we've had the opportunity to go to the festivals, we're watching a lot of these films on our laptops, and so just like to think that these films are going to exist in a cinema, because they're so rich, they're really phenomenal. So right now, like, I'm thinking of La Vida en Común, which is from Visions, and Love Mobile, which is from Locarno. We've got Cherche la Vie, which premiered at South by and played Black Star. Anyway, it's an American film, and by the name of Tanya, which is a Berlin film, which is also just these just so sensual and just real cinema. I keep using the word cinema. And then there's a couple.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to Michael Moore. I'm not just name dropping, but we were riding in the convertible with the top down, and we were just put on the tunes. No, I'm kidding. That I made that up. But he was on the phone. But he said that when he talks to young documentary filmmakers are just starting off, he'll say, go make a film. Don't make a documentary. Go make a film. Go make a movie. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting because I get what he's saying. Tell a story. Don't think about yourself. Don't think that because you're making a documentary that you're not making cinema, that you're not making, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you do get a sense that a lot of filmmakers in this slate went into telling a story and without a clear understanding, and that was maybe the interest of why they started in the first place of where they were going, or really why, but that's a really beautiful thing because, again, things are unfolding in really kind of unique and special ways.
That's a really good point. I think there's there's an incentive to try to know what you're doing because that's how you're going to talk to funders or even just your collaborators about like what is this film, what's it about, what's it doing. And so I think early on we're invited, even just like in the early stages of development, like before you've even picked up a camera, you already kind of have a sense of where you're going to land your audiences and like what the message is going to be. And a lot of the films here did not, if they had an idea of what they were doing, it got completely subverted by the kind of energy of the people that they were filming. And so there's like this kind of organic momentum within these films they're just like clearly motivated by like a deep attentiveness and curiosity and like a willingness to be transformed as well as the creator. I think that's really a good point. Which is rare, I think it's harder in a landscape of like where funders want to know in advance kind of what to expect.
Or even as programmers, we've talked a lot about it as well. Like, okay, like, all these, just that same, idea can be, if you have a lot of those experiences, there's, you're looking for something that is a little bit more, okay, like guiding you. But when you, I think that's just, the beauty of being a patient observer is really kind of a special thing. So
I think it's definitely
if you can cool. If you can do that, then this program is for you for sure.
Because all the filmmakers have done it.
Totally. So it's about getting on the same wavelength as the creative force behind the project, which again, I mean, we're talking about cinema art. That's I think in many ways what we're lucky to have, because we do have a slate of 40 features. Most places that have a doc program is maybe 12 features, 10 features. It's so limited.
Sure.
You don't really get an opportunity to explore the form in different ways. We're limited to really explore. So we are not, and I think we're taking advantage of that this year pretty well. So.
you know what? It's starting to really dawn on me that you guys, like the whole documentary storytelling has been evolving over the course of over the last bunch of years, and it's really at an exciting point, it seems like. And you guys, this festival is a great case of a festival that's really tapping into that. You don't know where it's necessarily going, but you can kind of just appreciate the form as it's evolving. I don't know.
I think about, again, just the idea that this is a small program in a small community. The amount of work that's being created is overwhelming, and the amount of really great work. I do think that's because there's been a lot of, tying it back to the idea of our 15th year. Like, there's a lot of incredible institutions across the world that have been really focused on providing platforms for filmmakers like the ones we're showcasing here to have an opportunity to get their work seen by an audience, by industry. And yeah, there's definitely serious depth. It seems like across the board. If we look back at some of the programs from the first years, they were completely different. There may have been a few of these kind of creative forces smattered amidst a
bubbling up. Sure, yeah.
But now you can create. You have an overabundance of work that is really pushing the form and experimenting in ways that is stimulating from a curation standpoint. Yeah. So. And then also just the sheer amount of work that is being created by people that are mastering the art of interrogation in their process.
Totally.
So,
the idea of evolution is so interesting because it sees itself as kind of a linear thing, whereas I'm seeing evolution kind of as this concentric circle, it's just expanding in all directions. Alex Gibney is getting better at being Alex Gibney. His new film is so phenomenal. It's such rigorous journalism, and yet then there's other films that are completely just abandoning any idea of advocacy or this idea that a documentary is a vehicle for information that lands you at a certain kind of conclusion. A lot of these films are not doing that. It's landing you at an emotional state and bringing you into this fold of immersing you in some kind of experience, but it's not. The information that it's transferring to you is different for each audience member, and so because it's more of a kind of experiential, suggestive space, and so I think the idea of evolution is in this expansive way in every direction. Documentary is getting interesting, both as a art form, as a political form, as a educational medium, and also journalism. There are all these things are present in our program, and that's exciting. Yeah,
and that even boils down to, this is an international podcast, I know, Adam, but even down to boils down to our program that is highlighting filmmakers in Maine or stories about Maine is the strongest it's ever been in 15 years. We have 2 or 3 feature films, I think, world premiering that are from Maine filmmakers, and an entire shorts block that is incredible. So, that's certainly something that we've noticed over the past decade plus. And then, we're talking about it on a much grander scale here, but exciting for sure.
Getting very excited. I guess the biggest question I've saved for last, which is, how cold does it get in the evenings?
No, honestly, it's so crazy because, like I said at the beginning of this call, we're inching closer into September. At some point, Labor Day is going to shift and we'll go back, but we have been blessed with incredible weather to the point of people wanting to skip out and go to the lake and, go on, some sails or whatnot.
It's a very swimmable weather.
It's summer. Climate change, unfortunately, is creeping into Maine and New England in September. So we're realizing that the water's warmer, the air is warmer.
It will be the harvest moon during the festival. So
we have Friday the 13th and harvest moon. So
wow!
It's an embarrassment of riches.
Well, I'm always embarrassed, so I'll fit right in. I'm driving up with
totally
Tate Billings, so you have the craziest crowd I think that will be in attendance.
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm driving up with one of your filmmakers, Michelle Negroponte.
Right, that's what I just said, yeah.
Right.
It's his world premiere.
Yes, it's his world premiere. I know. I got to see it, but I'm so glad it found I think it found the perfect home for the premiere, the perfect place for him. I know he's very excited.
So
Totally, absolutely. It's funny because Midcoast Maine has a incredible kind of storied history with artists.
Outside of art?
Most specifically kind of like studio artists, painters. The subject of Michelle's film truly is an outside artist, and I'm kind of torn because I want to be the one that introduces him to this ridiculously thriving art scene that is happening here right now. We're talking, a community that has a history with the Wyeths and the Wellivers and,
right.
Just massive names in this world. Tate Billings is an outsider artist, and this film is not just a document of him, but it's trying to get, inside his head and inside his world. So it'll be really fascinating to see how that happens in a community where the subject is from, and we'll be there kind of in some ways being introduced to a community that probably should embrace him for his...
Yes, we'll get him. Yes. And Michelle will speak so, he's so incredibly eloquent when it comes to talking about his work and about, how it just relating to, he can really connect with the audiences, That film is called My Autonomous Neighbor, and it's one of, I guess you have about 38 features, 51 short films, and 17 virtual reality and immersive experiences from over 35 countries. It's really remarkable. I can't wait to come up. It's the 15th Camden International Film Festival. Again, it runs from September 12th through the 15th. As I record this, I'm lying when I say right now you can get tickets, but you trust me, when this is going out into the world, you will be able to purchase tickets. You can go right to directly to the website, pointsnorthinstitute.org, and purchase tickets for the films we were talking about and for many others. And if you're a filmmaker, you should definitely get your butt up here because you need to experience this and then figure out how to get your next documentary or nonfiction film into this festival. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
I hope we hit all the points that we needed to hit. I feel...
We just hit what we needed to hit. It was perfect. It was a perfect reflection of this really intense day of locking the program.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all the more that you were able to make time and that we could get, make this happen. And, the next time I see you guys, it will be in
Camden probably, but yeah, we take place in 3 different towns along the coast. Yeah.
And they're nearby, right? You don't need do I need a car to get to the Rockport, or how do you handle that?
Got school buses. We are shuttle ready.
Sounds good to me. Sounds great. Thank you, Ben and Samara. Thank you both. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.